Okay, we are now live on Facebook and YouTube, and I'm going to give us back a big screen. And Diva will be with us here in just a few minutes. I can see she's seeing that. But welcome to the show, Gwen. I'm glad you're here.
Thank
How you
you.
feeling?
It's an honor to be invited.
Yeah. So,
Good morning, everyone, or good afternoon.
say again, Leslie. Anyway, let us begin. She just left. We'll have to get her back in here some other time. Anyway,
Yeah, I see her. She's not showing up with blue. I see her gorgeous smile.
yeah, she left. She's gonna. Hopefully, she'll come back. Anyway, today I wanted to see if we could talk a little bit about victimhood and not being a victim.
About what? I'm
Not
sorry. It's hard to...
being, not getting into that victimhood stance
Oh, not playing into the victim.
and not playing the victim.
Not playing the victim. You know, there's a difference. Do you all think the difference between playing victim and just validating the what it is you don't want for yourself? We talked about that, I think, last week, yeah, about in order not to fix, you have to shift perception. But before you shift perception of what is, you have to acknowledge and validate for yourself what is. Does that make sense?
No, you're doing fine.
Gwen, does that make sense to you? Because I know Dell and I have had this conversation before.
I can't understand you. I can't hear you that well.
Okay. Is that better?
Yes, it is.
It is. Okay. All right. I just
That's
have to
not
see my
better.
face closer up.
This is,
So, listen, just fun. You know, I'm in Vegas, and so last night I was walking through one of the malls of the nation, and you know how they always are handing out creams. I swear to God, 5 people said, "Here's a sample. Did anyone do the under eye?" Right, and they pull you in, and I'm going, you know, if I was in this personally, so I said to a guy who's trying to talk me into put this cream on, I said, listen, it is what it is. Like, yes, I have nothing on the sunrise. It is what it is. But I just thought, like, if I didn't have an underlying foundation of being good with myself, last night's trip to the nation would have been like devastating because I had 5 people just say, under your eyes, you really need some help. And okay, I guess it wasn't that funny. I thought it was funny at the time. It's just interesting for me how sales is facing with people. We can feel really insecure about ourselves. And I'm gonna have a second.
Okay, I was just going to say, playing the victimhood keeps us stuck in the problem. You can't find the solution. It keeps you stuck because if you're playing the victim, you're always going to be the victim. If you get out of that stance and get into loving yourself, the victimhood goes away and you're no longer a victim, you're a survivor, in my opinion.
Yes, that's true.
I think there's a.
But
Go ahead, Gwen.
I think there's a lot of forgiveness in there. You have to forgive yourself for being the victim.
yeah, you know,
Okay.
In forgiving
that's
yourself.
Gwen.
Go ahead, Leslie.
That's Gwen that's talking, right?
Yeah.
I think
Yeah.
your screen shows. I totally agree, Gwen. You know, sometimes we don't even realize we need to forgive ourselves. And I think that's where it gets stuck. And it's sometimes, at least I found for myself, I was telling Dale last week I was going through like injuries. It's like all the shame, self-shame I realized I had that I never realized I had. And it was about I had some neurodiversity and some challenges that, you know, I often don't complete all the ideas in my head. And there's so much shame about not being able to do that. No one else shamed me. I shamed myself because I knew that I couldn't do what I wanted to do. And there was just a lot of shame. And so I had to, but unless you're willing to get really uncomfortable, to dig deep and find out what it is that you need to give yourself for. But you're right. Gwen, if you've been able to forgive, did you feel like forgiving? Have you? And were you able to forgive yourself?
Dale, can you tell me what you said?
Now, were you able to forgive yourself? Is what
For
Russell's
being-
asking.
For being a victim?
Yeah.
Yes, I was. I learned to, that it wasn't my fault to be. And then as you are the victim and you live your life with that being a victim, and you live your life with that shame and internalize it, you have to somehow get to a point where you acknowledge the shame, feel the shame that binds you, to quote somebody, and then forgive yourself for living in that shame, and forgive yourself for being that victim and letting yourself be a victim.
Mm-hmm.
I agree with you on that. You have to not only forgive yourself for being a victim, but you need to forgive yourself for letting yourself be a victim.
Yeah.
Hey, Diva, how about you? Is it Diva or Diva? How do I be addressed?
Diva. Her name's Diva. Is she here?
Okay. She's on mute. There you go. How about you, girl? Any shame, forgiveness?
Okay. I don't know where she went. She couldn't get through with the sound or something.
Okay.
Can't you hear me?
Yeah.
Oh, here
Yeah.
she is.
Yeah.
Oh, good.
Oh, good. I'm so glad to see you, Diva.
Yeah, it's good to see you as well. I'm glad that you're doing well today.
Yeah. Yeah, this is my sister Gwen.
Hi, Gwen. How you doing, Miss Lady?
I'm good. Thank you for asking.
And up above is Miss Leslie, Reverend Leslie.
Hello, Reverend Leslie. How are you? Nice to meet you both.
Nice to meet you. Nice to meet you also. Yeah, so tell us a little bit about yourself. If you've experienced any feelings of victimization or self-esteem, or you need to forgive.
I'm sorry, ma'am. You're gonna have to speak up just a little bit louder, please, for
Sure.
me.
Yeah, sure. How about you? Have you experienced any period of times in your life where you felt victim? And how did you move past it if you did?
I can't hear it either, Diva.
I'm really
Is it
struggling to hear, and I'm having problems on my laptop
Okay.
loading the
I
page. I repositioned to a little bit closer to my router, so I'm trying this again, and I have you on my phone as well.
Yeah.
And I'm having problems hearing you volume wise, and it's kind of still skipping in and out. So please pardon me if I keep asking you to repeat what you're saying. You asked me to tell you about.
Tell us a little bit about yourself. We're talking about, so just let us know a little bit about who Diva is.
Oh, wow. I don't know if y'all have enough time for all that. I've been
Yeah, you
59
do.
years on the planet. I have a little bit of life about me. So I am primarily, well, I'm a mom, I'm grandma, I'm I don't know how to answer that question. I feel like I'm almost on a job interview, but I'm not. I
No.
don't know what to tell you all my skills and everything. But I come from a background of military and law enforcement and medical overall. So most of my professions have been in the service and helping other people in difficult situations and just being in that position of service. I see that the scrolling at learning to love yourself, that is definitely very important. Um, Having been one to struggle with PTSD and child sexual assault trauma, as well as domestic violence, has made me a survivor. And that was what encouraged me to go into law enforcement and to specialize in helping other primarily women. You know, there are some men that get abused as well, but my response and my interaction was mostly with women who have been through some type of trauma along those lines. And having been in the military is a very hush hush kind of entity and having certain from law enforcement and then to sitting on the board and to listening how they review the cases and then how they adjudicate them down to like almost non-existent, it really kind of hurt me as a woman. I felt kind of helpless too, from a law enforcement standpoint as well, because here you encourage these women to make that move and they're risking their lives, you know, to get out of that environment, but then you kind of leave them hanging. And I just didn't have that when I was going through it because I was in the military. My ex-husband was in the military, and we both were police officers in the military. So when we would get into our bouts and they got physical, it's like, well, guess what? I know the same moves you know. You put me in a chokehold, you know, I know how to kick you in the groin, but are we really trying to hurt each other like that? So as you go through a whole round of wondering, like, what did I do wrong? What did I not do at all? And I was a young wife at the time, and he had insecurity issues. And but we never went to counseling. And for a long time, I was the victim, and it took me a while to get that self love, you know, back to where I can move forward. And as a single parent, I feel that I've tried to instill that in my daughters as well. You know, you're
Okay,
not
but let me
on the
ask you,
planet to be anybody's punching bag. You just aren't.
ask you a
But you
question.
do, you have to get to a place of self-love and forgiveness and understanding that forgiveness is not for the other person, it's for you to be able to move on.
Right on. Very, very true, Diva. We have to
Can I
forgive
ask a
ourselves
question?
first
One of
before
the,
we go ahead,
I've,
Leslie.
yeah, I've not experienced physical domestic abuse. Um, and I was just wondering, like, after about where you're, you know, being physical with one another, when that's done, like, what's that like? Like, what's the conversation like? Or trying to imagine being in that situation. When someone hits you, you hit someone else. Is there a period of forgiveness after, or do you leave it as an anger? How's the interaction? And
Well, I'll
does
have
that
to,
make sense?
yeah, I'm sorry. I'll say, you know, the biggest challenge was the fact that we were both in the military. We were both in the same unit. We worked together and we went home together. So there
Mm,
really was no escaping unless we had, you know, individual time or, you know, with the guys and, you know, with the girlfriends. We had separate time like that, but otherwise there really was no no formal method of forgiveness because I just packed up my stuff and I said, you know what? After you run me around the apartment and you lock us in, and the only way that I can get out is to lock myself in the bathroom and wait for you to fall asleep so I can break out of our house, and we lived in Germany at the time, so the door is locked from the inside. So once you have that master key and you take the key, there's no way out unless you break in the window. So that was, phew, that was the hardest part, was just trying to escape. And when I physically got out of that apartment, I had no desire to go back. After the third or fourth time, you pulling a knife on me, you threatening to throw me out the third floor in our apartment, you taking the phone and you snatching it out and you throwing it up and you throwing me up against the mirror and on the bed, on the floor. It's just, after a couple times of that happening, that would, really, it just was not something that I saw in my household.
Yeah.
And so my mom and dad were married until they part. And I only saw my dad hit my mom once, and she packed us up and she packed me and her up, and we was gone. Mom didn't play that, and we're from the South, so it really depends on your culture, what people are willing to put up with. Abuse is really a mind manipulative, narcissistic behavior that you just don't get called out on. People just don't call you out on it, and that builds up to the physical and the abusive part. And that's just my theory. But that's just my life of how I interpreted what happened to me. And, with the few other women that I try to help.
So how did it change you for the better? Like, I always think that what we experience for a reason, not we here, but like something deeper spiritually. Our soul came here for a reason, there are lessons to learn, and that every experience, negative or positive, does have a lesson in it. And so from that, who you are today, what part of you do you think came from that experience of abuse? Like, who would be without this? I guess you don't know that question, but can you see any lesson or gift in it now, or no?
Can I see any what now?
Any lesson or gift, and gift can mean help you grow and become stronger. Was there something beneficial for you that came out of it, looking long term?
Of the benefits that for me that came out of that situation, is that what you're asking me?
Yeah. Like,
I would say that it goes back to scripture, that doesn't kill you, makes you stronger. I really do believe that. And like I said, I've been on the planet for 59 years. I've been through some stuff, and good, bad, and indifferent. But it's all made me stronger. It has made me stronger. Going through that situation with my ex-husband, that was really just a layer on top of being sexually abused by my stepbrother when I was 5 years old. So I mean, I know I didn't mention that before, but I feel that suppression of those incidents that happened to me as a young child had set me up to recognize some things. But at the same time, because I was never exposed to it, I come to accept a certain part of being a wife. I'm supposed to, take care of my husband and cater to him. And, when you're both police officers and you both do the same thing, it's hard to be that weaker person, I guess you can say.
Yeah.
It's a power struggle. But I would say that the biggest benefit was just coming out stronger, and I'm not a weak person. It's
Notice
So
that the first time we met.
when I would, the negative or uncomfortable experience in my life, I was able to hang on to while I was going through it, knowing that there was a lesson and that there was a gift in it. Some I just didn't see it yet. Were you able to hang on that story when it was actually happening? Were you able to hang on to knowing that to make you stronger?
Yeah, wow. To hang on to that strength, if I'm hearing you correctly, is
Yeah.
hard. Because I've been a single parent my whole life, and I do feel that those situations have made me a little bit more leery or really hyper super cautious about being in relationships with men. Um, I wish that could be different. My ability to trust in men is still very hard for me to do. And my patience and knowing that I don't have to put up with that. You know what I'm saying? I'm better than that. I don't have to, I pick up certain cues, and if you throwing those cues to me and it's an abusive, and no, I'm shutting it down. So it's like I'm not even going down that road with people anymore.
Yeah, that's what I was going to say. With the reason I asked the question is I've there've been a lot of negative experiences in my life, but I never felt like a victim. And I think it's because during those times when I was being knocked down, and to be honest, it happens every morning. Like I have a dark period every morning, and I get light, and I get dark, and I get light. And I know that it's in the darkness where the is found, and the light is kind of to the force and the heart and the dark you gotta like. And I think that's why I never felt like a victim, because through all the darkness, I knew there was a reason. It wasn't happening. It's not that I did anything wrong or it happened to me. It was a gift to me, so I could become stronger to share with others. And I was just wondering if that's just feeling like a victim or not.
It's a defense
It is.
mechanism. Yeah.
You know,
I
as
don't
a,
mean sorry, Dale, you've been, go ahead.
yeah, as a male survivor, things are a little different.
Mm.
We don't talk about it. We keep it within us. The shame, the guilt, the rage is all kept within us because of the stigmatism that's put on us by society.
Mm-hmm.
And it's very difficult for a male to get out of that victimhood.
Mm.
It took me many
But,
years.
well, I mean, what I've seen, even if you are able, because I've always spoken my truth. And when I worked in trauma, I was a public health nurse for 30 working for in trauma, and authenticity inspired them, right? And we were able to talk openly, and from that alone, and being held in this safe space that was loving and accepting, they were able to transform. But when I left public health nursing and went to more into the quote unquote business world where people weren't so open and authentic, they weren't real comfortable with someone who's just okay with being vulnerable. Then I did see how authenticity, I would share what I was feeling. And it wasn't acknowledged. It was kind of because we weren't comfortable. And I think if we talk like we're saying, Dale, if we talk about things and people don't respond, then it kind of, for me at least, made it worse. It's like, I don't care if you reject me, I'm cool with rejection, but don't just acknowledge. Have you ever experienced that, Dale, with sharing yours as a man? That people just pretend you didn't see what you said? It made them uncomfortable.
Are you talking to me?
Uh-huh.
Yeah, I missed what you said there, Leslie.
I was saying, have you in your life, if you have shared what's gone on, have you ever had people just not respond at all to what you're saying?
No, I've only been very selective in who I've spoken to, mostly therapists.
Right.
and they've responded positively and helpful. The few other people that I've responded to, some of them laughed, which really hurt. Some just said it's not possible to abuse a male, especially when he's 20. You know, I was sexually assaulted when I was 26 by a cousin. And we don't talk about that.
You
Yeah,
asked them why they thought it. Did you ask them why they thought it wasn't possible to abuse a male at 26?
I'm sorry, I misunderstood you.
Did you ever ask them why they felt it was impossible to abuse a male at the age?
No. I just clammed up and shut up and left. Either left the conversation or the area I was in. I never pursued it beyond their initial reaction, except for getting very enraged at times.
Mm.
I'd go into blackout rages where I was totally blacked out, like I was an alcoholic in an alcoholic blackout, but it was only from the rage that I was feeling. And
So do
only
you think that's, yeah, I'm just saying, so did that make you feel more shameful, you think? And that's where the rage comes from?
the rage came from my father, who was a rageaholic, and I learned the behavior from him. From my one therapist, Dr. Diggs, I learned that it's learned that rage that I was feeling, not the anger, but the rage going beyond the anger itself was legitimate. I had a right to be angry. I didn't have a right to act out on it, but I had a right to be angry.
So like
And
rage,
but but I learned that the rage part of it, the blackout rage part of it, was a learned behavior from my father.
so I don't agree with, okay, it's not that I don't agree with that. Learned behavior is one thing. So like, if I'm not feeling a certain way inside, then I'm not going to take on that learned behavior, right? Like if like my parents yelled and screamed and they were angry and they were nasty, if I didn't take on their behavior because I didn't have the feeling inside me that made it possible. What I'm trying to say is, if you grow up, rage and anger, same thing with fear or whatever, it all comes from, I think, of feeling within yourself of not feeling safe and not having control.
Mm-hmm.
And that's it. But I don't think you can become rageful if you're peaceful within, whether it's or not. Does that make sense?
Yeah, it makes sense to me.
So what I'm getting at is when they asked you, when they made that comment or they laughed, did it bring on more shame inside, which then changed the rage?
Oh, yes.
Yeah.
It piled on the shame. It was, like I said, I was in my 60s before things really started turning around for me with Dr. Diggs, who will be here on the 8th of January. He wants to be on the show. Dr. Diggs does. He is just a psychotherapist. The man is just an absolute golden boy of therapy. He's just incredibly good. And through working with him, I was able to get over the shame and the guilt and the victimhood. Because I still, even as a sober alcoholic, I was still blaming myself for what happened that night, the night I was sexually assaulted. Let's call it what it is. I was raped. And I was blaming myself for that. I wasn't blaming myself for the abuse as a child that I suffered, this sexual abuse I suffered as a child from my parents. Both of them. I'm a victim. I'm a human trafficking survivor.
That's crazy. I don't know, just so much of where we all struggle in this world is that's self-blame and self-shame, like self-abandonment. Either we think it's about other people, but in reality, we're angry and pissed off ourselves because one thing or another. I don't know, but would you guys agree with that or no? And it's cool, you know.
But Dr. Diggs was able to show me where I was not at fault. It wasn't.
No, I know it wasn't, but we think it is, right? Like,
I did for years.
yeah.
Years. No, it happened in 1976, and I didn't get over with it until 2015, 2016.
So was there anything anyone could have said or created a space where you could have forgiven yourself? Like
Well,
back then,
I had a couple
what
of
was it that this doctor did? What did he say? Or what was he, how was he able to get you to forgive yourself?
It's very hard. Dr. Diggs has a different slant on therapy than most people, but he was able to show me that despite being intoxicated that night, it was not my fault that I was assaulted. That what happened was the fault of the perpetrator, not mine. It was his choice, his decision, his actions that caused it to happen. Nothing I did, said, could have changed it. This is what Dr. Diggs pointed out to me, that nothing I did or said or did, except for leaving, would have changed anything. And I didn't leave because there was still alcohol to be drank, so I was going to stay and drink the alcohol. That was the way I did things. That's the way I dealt with it.
I'm trying to, the reason I keep focusing is I'm trying to get to how can we, as a we, right? Because I think the majority of people carry some shame, some guilt. How can we address it so that we can hold a space for one another to forgive ourselves and to let go of?
I don't
I
know.
don't say this. I'm just saying because you know there's a mess, people mess, like everything is, and it's probably one of these conversations like just talk real. Like there has the only solution is within ourselves, but it's not within ourselves as one. We have to feel safe with ourselves as one, so we can open ourselves up.
That's what got me over being a victim. Was that nothing I said, nothing I did. I was in no way responsible for what happened, and Dr. Diggs was able to show me that. Not convince me by speaking to me, but show me where anything I did would not have changed the situation.
So let me ask you a question. If you share this with somebody now and they left, would you have a response to them? Would it be different than that channel or that person who left and it triggered the rage?
No, I would have a reaction, but it would not be about the old reaction. It would be, I'd feel sorry for them because they don't know. They've never been there.
Would you say anything to them?
I doubt it. I'm not the type that would. I might, but I seriously doubt it. Depends on how close we are. For good friends, I probably would. If it's some acquaintance, probably not.
Because I think that it was my own experience when someone has not acknowledged. When I've spoken up for myself and said, hey, why didn't you? It might make them uncomfortable, but I think this self-shame is when we don't speak up for ourselves, right?
Yeah.
Like when someone says something inside with a thought in our head, like that we wish we went, wow, why did I stand up for myself then? Right? Like I remember one woman, a leader, said something to me. She's like, "You're really powerful, but you're like wasting, you're not using your power." And I went, "Yeah, that's when I am. I'm not building my power into me all the time." So I went back and said to her, "You know what? I shuffled that off, but you don't understand. What I'm doing in the past couple of years is building my strength and power so I can share it with others. You know, but if I hadn't said that to her, I think the things bit by bit where we don't speak up for ourselves, I think slowly and slowly, they add up, and that adds to the what we need to figure about us for.
Well, I've always been rather passive, put it mildly, about me standing up for myself. You know,
Yeah.
when she left, but she used to fight my battle for me in grade school because I wouldn't stand up for myself, and I was bullied, severely bullied, all through all my life, even into adulthood. Because I won't stand up for myself. To this day, I still have an issue with that.
So, I don't know. This is David and Gwen. Do you have any thoughts or about what we've been talking about, or any experiences that you have to share?
Yeah, I was just going to ask David, what was the catalyst that changed you from victim to survivor? Can you hear us, David?
Yep.
I'm sorry, what was the question again?
The question was, what was the catalyst that changed you from victimhood to survival?
When I went into the military, I think subconsciously going into the military and going into law enforcement, I feel that at a young age of 17 that I wanted to not have someone else go through what I went through. And by going into that profession, that was what gave me power and gave me strength to not, I suppressed it really. I mean, truth be told, I suppressed it for over almost 30 years from myself and definitely from others. And my closest friend was my mom, and I didn't tell her to maybe like two years before she passed away in 2000. I'm a grown woman. I'm in my late 40s, but I will say that I had to go through more than one period of time of reminding myself that I wasn't a victim. And it came through my going into law enforcement to learn more about how I can help myself by helping others. Coming out the day that I packed up my stuff and left from my ex-husband, that was my day of empowerment right there, for sure, because I did not need to be in that type of environment. I did not feel that I was thriving in that environment. And it's really, we were only married for about 3.5 years, but it started shortly after, the honeymoon session was over. And, you get caught up at work and you're both in law enforcement. And this is all kind of excuses and things and things that went into the mix. But I really think that I had more than one revelation, more than one period of time in my life that I'm not the victim. I'm a victor. I'm
You're
a survivor.
I like that.
survivor.
Mind if I steal that phrase from you, Diva?
What's
Victor,
that?
being the victor instead of victim.
Yeah, from the victim to the victor. That's
Yeah.
right.
I like that phrase. Hey, I hate to
Absolutely.
say that we've had such a good time here, and I'm sorry to say my sister's just not well, and she's part of the reason she left.
I see. Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
she's real sick, so I'm sorry about that. But
Aw.
No worries.
No, I'm
Yeah, I hope
sorry.
she feels better.
yeah, we're going to have to end this because we're about out of time.
Okay.
We got some bad connections with Leslie this week, so come
Yeah, I
back.
was gonna say, Del, maybe we can have her on another time when the connection's been really, I don't know about you all, but I'm like hearing, it's really hard to hear.
Yeah,
Yes.
Because words are going in and out. So maybe we can try this
yeah.
again and hopefully the connection will be better.
We
Cool.
won't be here Christmas Day or New Year's Day. We won't be here. And the 5th is when Dr. Diggs will be here. You can come listen to him if you so wish. I'll send you an invite.
Yes. Send
Come
me an
listen to
invite.
Dr. Diggs. Yes, you can listen to what Dr. Diggs and I basically, he's still my therapist.
Mhm.
To a large extent, I can text him and he calls me back and we have a therapy session over Zoom.
I'm really excited to
First
meet
name
him.
basis. What a first name basis. So
So,
anyway,
Yeah, I
Right.
had a therapist like that once through the VA.
yeah.
I don't know. I've kind of got dropped off. I guess I fell off somewhere in the last year or so. No one from mental health really has contacted me from the VA, and then they wonder why, a lot of veterans go through a lot of mental issues that they go through or that we go through.
They help.
It's a tired system.
It is. I've got a
Yeah.
therapist. He's not very good. So
It's
but
not
But
the
it's free.
veterans and the healthcare
It was
system.
mine.
anyway,
All right, guys, listen, I'm gonna sign off only because I'm having a
All right,
really hard
Yes,
time.
thank you very much for the
All right,
invite.
love you all.
Nice meeting you.
okay.
Love you. Have a happy holidays, everyone.
You do the same, both of you.
Have
Thank
a Merry
you.
Christmas,
Okay.
a beautiful New
All
Year,
right.
and see you.
Okay, thank you.
Bye-bye.
Good night.